Welcome back to the John Frederick Show, Common Sense for the Commonwealth, broadcasting from the nation's capital, Common Sense News Time. Coming up on 7:41 on the line, live from Atlanta, Georgia. That's my old stomping ground, the GA, the Peach State. Glad to be up here in the Commonwealth. We have Representative Paul Broun, M.D., Republican, Georgia, 10th District. He's got a major press conference going on today in Atlanta at 4 p.m.
He's the new manager of the Braves?
He's going to be taking over the Braves.
Finally, a guy who knows what he's doing down there.
The chairman of the unofficial chairman, right? The unofficial
Yes.
chairman. We're trying to make him the official chairman. The unofficial chairman of the Straight Talk Express right here on the John Frederick Show. Dr. Paul Broun, great to have you with us, sir.
John, it's always a tremendous blessing and pleasure to visit with you and your listeners.
Well, we appreciate that. Now, I do have to start Representative Broun with a disclaimer. I did do a column yesterday, which is on bearingdrift.com, and let me just read how I started it. The title is "Can They Stop Him?" And I'm just going to read you my first opening paragraph. You might not agree with it, but I say the GOP establishment loathes him. The Romney camp disavowed him. The state party disowned him. The House caucus dismissed him. But who can stop him in preparation for your potential announcement today? By the way, the other thing I said that I just have to give myself a pat on the back because I love this particular line where I have that Paul Broun is to the Karl Rove GOP country club establishment what gun-toting Christians are to Piers Morgan.
Well, I'm honored and flattered with that with a column and what you said, but frankly, John, Georgians don't care about labels. They don't care about affiliations. All they care about is solutions, and they see spending as being the largest issue that we face as a nation. We've got to stop this irresponsible spending that's been going on here in Washington, D.C., and it's been going on by both parties. They see me as a person who has been in the fight. Sometimes it's been a very lonely fight, but it's a necessary fight. We've got to stop this irrational spending that's going on here, or we're going to have a financial meltdown as a nation. And so I think the Georgians, whether they're Republicans, Libertarians, Democrats, conservative, liberal, I think they're going to embrace my campaign, and we're going to win it.
Now, your big press conference today, I believe that's at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.
Correct. In
Atlanta. Can you, on our show, give us a little insight, a little preview on what your announcement at that press conference might be?
Well, John, at that press conference, I will announce my candidacy. That's the official start. I'm not making an announcement here this morning because that's the official one in Atlanta at 4 o'clock this afternoon. So we'll do that press conference. It's scheduled for 4. We'll have all the Atlanta TV folks there. And basically, I'm going to say we've got to stop spending that's going on here in Washington. That's what I've been fighting ever since I came to Washington in 2007. As you know, we've talked about things that we should be spending money on, things that are constitutional, things that are not constitutional. We've just got to stop the spending because what's going to happen is we're going to have a real fiscal cliff. We're going to see a tremendous downturn of our economy because what's happening is as Washington takes more money out of people's pockets to spend it on things that it shouldn't be spending money on, then we're killing jobs. We're destroying our economy. Our children and our grandchildren are going to live at a lower standard, so we've just got to stop the spending, and that's the long and short of it.
As a clarification, Dr. Broun, for those who aren't familiar with Georgia politics, your announcement this afternoon, although, again, you're not making it official on the show because you want to do that at 4 o'clock this afternoon, is to make a Senate run to replace Saxby Chambliss, correct?
That's correct. That I'm going to I will start the race this afternoon.
For those in our audience that don't know how this works, there'll be a primary in Georgia on the Republican side. This is an open primary where you basically have to just go in and say you want to vote in a Republican primary. It'll be in July. And then if no candidate gets over 50%, which will probably be the case in Georgia because we expect a number of candidates to be in that, then there'll be a runoff, a primary runoff 1 month after that in August of 2014 between the top two vote getters. That's the way Georgia works. Now, why don't we go, if we can, Representative Brown, right to the sequester. Yesterday, President Obama basically kicked that under the rug and made the statement that essentially the sequester was never really intended to get put into place and that he was looking for a way to get out of that. And, of course, the sequester is the consequence of the fact that the super committee couldn't get together and pass a comprehensive plan that reduced the deficit. That's why the sequester was in there, so that there would be an accountability factor. But now it looks like that's being washed away. I don't. For our listeners, what's the end game here?
President Obama gave us the sequester. He was very insistent on that deal that we put the sequester in place. I think he was trying to force Republicans to vote for something that he wants, and that's more taxes and more spending. And that's the reason he put it in place, I believe. And it's the only real spending cuts that we have seen. The president has talked about that he has signed $1.4 trillion into spending cuts, but that is absolutely false. The truth is not in the man. He's not signed any spending cuts. He's wanted to continue spending, even with the fiscal cliff deal that we did back right at the 1st of January. He said those increased taxes, he was going to spend more. We've got to stop it, and it's absolutely critical. I've led the charge in the House to try to stop the wasteful, irresponsible spending that both parties have been doing. I've introduced more measures to stop spending than any other member from the state of Georgia, maybe even any member from all of Congress, if you don't count Paul Ryan's budget that he put forward. So the thing I've been doing is and what the American people need to start doing is telling their members of Congress in the House and the Senate, we cannot continue going. We're going to have a tremendous economic collapse. We're going to have, as I've already said, a financial meltdown in this country. I think we're headed towards a depression. This is going to be worse than the one in the 30s if this president continues to spend money the way he's doing, and it just has to stop. It's totally irresponsible. He has a Keynesian economic philosophy, which means that government needs to spend money to create a stronger economy, and that's absolutely never been shown to be true. We've got to leave dollars in the hands of family businesses and individuals across this country. Stop the spending in Washington. So that's absolutely the thing that I've been fighting for, and will continue to do so.
Common Sense News Time coming up on 7:50 here on the John Frederick Show. Editorial Director Steve Ray, along with our guest, Representative Paul Broun from Georgia. He is also an M.D. And I would ask, Congressman, why did you vote against the no budget, no pay legislation? Was it because it had the temporary suspension of the debt limit until the middle of May, or were there other reasons that you voted against that?
I thought it was bad policy, and I thought it was bad politics. The thing is, we have not solved the problem. We've got to deal with this just totally outrageous, irresponsible, unsustainable spending levels, and all we've done is we've just procrastinated just a little bit more, and we've got to deal with it. We've got to do the hard work that's necessary to put this country back on the right course financially, and that didn't do it. So that's the reason I voted against it.
And in lieu of the no budget, no pay legislation, then, would you offer up something that might be adjusted a bit in its language that wasn't attached to suspending the debt limit? Have you got a different type of solution for that, sir?
Absolutely. In fact, what that bill did is it suspended the debt limit for 4 months. It gave Barack Obama a blank check for 4 months. We're going to create another $400 to $500 billion of more debt. We've got to do some big things here in Washington to put us back on the right course. And one that I have promoted in Georgia, very strongly supported by everybody I talk to in Georgia, and that's, let's get rid of the Department of Education and send those dollars back to the states. Let's pay our teachers a better salary so that they can teach kids. Let's get rid of No Child Left Behind, which I called No Teacher Left Unshackled, so that the teachers can teach. We can have a better educational system. Let's get rid of the EPA and let the states take care of those regulations. The EPA, particularly under this administration, is going to run up the cost of all energy sources in this country, and that's going to hurt poor people, and it's going to hurt senior citizens on limited income the most. Let's stop spending money on these bureaus and the bureaucrats and all this regulatory burden, and utilize the money in a way that is going to be in the best interest of America.
Great points, John, about not politicizing regulatory issues like that. I love his position.
That certainly would be a breath of fresh air. Common Sense, News Time 753. We're with Representative Paul Broun here on the John Frederick Show. Dr. Broun has a press conference scheduled today at 4 p.m. where we expect him to officially announce his candidacy for the United States Senate in Georgia. Congressman, just last week I was talking to your staff. You were in your district. You had a town hall meeting that we found fascinating, where you basically wanted to talk about some of the economic things you did now. But what happened at the meeting is all anybody wanted to talk about was the fact that they were afraid that President Obama was going to try to take their handguns away. How did that play out?
Georgians understand that the Second Amendment is a key to freedom. Most Georgians believe in an individual right, as our founding fathers did, an individual right to own firearms. Our founding fathers meant that the Second Amendment was the way to protect ourselves from our own government from taking over, and we are people all across Georgia are extremely concerned that this president wants to take away their freedom, and so they're very concerned about the attack that's coming from the Democrats here in Washington on those Second Amendment rights. I'm the chairman of the Second Amendment Task Force, and will continue to fight for that individual right. That as I'm fighting for spending reductions and spending control and responsible fiscal policy here in Washington. So it's really, freedom is all bound up in this overburdensome government that's spending too much, it's regulating too much, it's taking too much of our freedom away, and that's the reason why I think spending is the number one issue that we face, because we, through the spending of the government, are not spending. We can control this overreach of this administration that wants to spend our country into oblivion. I'm not sure whether they want to or not, but that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to spin this country into oblivion if they keep on.
That's the end result. Speaking of freedom, the Obama administration is defending their new drone policy. Short version, members of terrorist groups actively attacking the United States based on somebody's opinion, I guess, in the White House or the State Department can be shot on sight with a drone. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's totally against the Constitution. Even U.S. citizens are subject to some bureaucrat saying that this person is a terrorist, and thus we're going to kill them without any due process. Again, this is just an overburdensome government because we've just continued to grow the size and scope of government, and we do that by allowing the government to spend money on these types of things.
Right.
Now, the drone program has been very successful in many ways. We monitor our borders with the drone program, and that's good spending. We utilized the drone when I was deployed to Afghanistan last year. I'm in the Navy Reserve, and I was deployed, so I'm an Afghanistan war vet. There were drones there trying to keep our troops safe, and actually part of fighting that war over there. That's the kind of things that we need to spend money on. In fact, under the Constitution, the Congress only has 18 things that we're supposed to be voting on. National defense, national security should be the major function that we spend money on. Most of the things that the federal government is purchasing in the way of services or goods are not authorized under the Constitution. I believe in the Constitution as our founding fathers meant it, and I'm fighting for constitutional spending, and it's what I'm doing here. And actually, through controlling the purse, the Congress has the ability to control the administration and the judicial department and everything else of the federal government. And we've just got to utilize the power of the purse to make sure that we get back into the bounds that our founding fathers gave us with the U.S. Constitution.
That's the bottom line. Representative Brown, we're just about out of time. Very, very, very quickly, when you make your announcement today, the liberals and the mainstream media is going to go absolutely ballistic. They're going to go crazy. You drive them nuts. One word, can you win?
Absolutely, because the people of Georgia want to see spending stopped.
There you go.
Or controlled.
U.S. Congressman Paul C. Broun, M.D., from the 10th Congressional District of Georgia. You can go to broun.house.gov for more information on the good man. And we thank you for your service as always, Doctor. Thanks so much.
And paulbrown.com, BROUN.
This time you spelled it right.
Thank you.
All right.